Welcome back to Who Are You Really? Real Life Spirituality. I'm Chris Signing, and again, I'm joined by the host of the show, Jody Lemieux and Bryan Winston. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
I don't know about you. I've really been enjoying the conversations, and I'm looking forward to this one. I'm intentionally looking forward to this one. Today, we're going to talk about intention. So I'm going to open up this time. Who would like to start out by giving their definition of intention and why they think it's important?
I'll start, I guess. When I think of intention, I think of direction, conscious direction. Conscious direction, or I think that's the best way I can come up with a conscious direction. Because I can go into a destination, or maybe it's not a destination, maybe it's a path, but I think it's a conscious direction. I think is probably the best way from what I see, intention.
Do you have a similar definition, Jody?
Yes, I do. As Bryan so beautifully said, conscious direction. So conscious is being aware. Are you aware of where your intention is? Is such a powerful place to be, because I've heard the phrase, life happens to me. And if you hold this belief that life happens to you, you're other than conscious. You're unconscious of what's actually occurring for you and through you. And so when you become conscious of who you are, as our podcast is called, you set intentions to move yourself forward in life.
Okay, I'm going to stop for 1 second. So you're saying you're unconscious if you assume that life is happening to you.
I would say yes. What would you say, Bryan?
Yeah. If I say life is happening to me, because could that be maybe it's a level of consciousness, but I think that sleep is also a level of consciousness. It's also a level of consciousness. I don't know if you could say sleep is conscious. I think that diminishes the term. So I would agree with that. I would agree with if you're saying that life is happening to me, you are conscious, but your level of consciousness is not conscious.
So what you're saying is that what you're not conscious of is the power that you have over that.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a symptom of the fact that you're not quite at the level of consciousness you probably should be if you want to be able to fully direct your life.
Oh. Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah.
And I would also leave this in the recording, Chris, because you're coming to an awareness of level of life happening through you rather than to you.
Oh, I'll keep this in recording. I'm not embarrassed. Don't know what I don't know, So now that we've established that intentionality is being conscious of what and doing things consciously, how do you see that playing into your spiritual life and what you do?
Well, I think maybe spirituality and consciousness go hand in hand, right? I think for most people who consider themselves on a spiritual path are doing what they can to more deeply understand consciousness. Well, at least that's what I've come to see. Like, what is consciousness, and what does it mean to be conscious, and what am I conscious of, and so these kind of topics. Am I even answering the question? I feel like I've kind of just. What was the question, Chris?
Let me see if I can rephrase it. So let's take an example, because people are familiar with the word intention and being intentional. I mean, every business coach and coach out there is like, oh, you've got to be intentional. But I don't think anybody really fully describes, where the rubber meets the road, how you be intentional. What are you being intentional at being and doing?
The word that comes up for me is clarity. Being clear on what are you doing? Who are you? What are you doing? Like, answering those questions, I think, is when we start to talk about intentionality. What do you think, Jody?
For me, intentionality is being purposeful, being aware.
Purposeful.
And so how would that apply on a practical basis? Let's say you have decisions to make and all that. How are you aware that you're being intentional in that?
Right. So on a practical level, so a business owner comes to me and they want coaching to grow their business, right? Okay. One of the first questions is, well, what does it look like to grow your business? So basically, what is your goal? Like, what's your goal? Like, what do you want? Right. So how could you go someplace or make a change if you're not sure what you want the result to be? So I think that's the first level of it, is knowing where you're heading. And then we can deepen the level of consciousness or intentionality around, like, okay, so what things are you doing? And then, who are you, what do you want? What are you doing? Who are you being? These are like the kind of levels of intentionality. So on a practical level, if you think about any businesses have goals and they have intentions, and many times they have mission statements. So on a practical level, I can't imagine there's any like really successful business that doesn't have goals and intentions and missions.
Okay. You have thoughts on that, Jody?
Yes, I always have thoughts.
Silly question.
I'm just observing my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm observing my thoughts and as Bryan's talking, I'm formulating a beautiful picture of what it means to be intentional in life. And again, it comes back to clarity, it comes back to purpose, and it comes to living consciously, being aware of what you're saying, what you're doing, and more importantly, who are you? Who are you being? Are you consciously choosing who you are being? Or are you following in the pattern of life? Are you following what masses are telling you? Are you following what society is telling you to live?
See, that's an interesting way to put that. I was going to go one direction, but I think I'm going to follow up with that one. So being intentional is also making sure that you are staying true to who you are once you figure that out. Because a lot of people don't, even, and I'm not sure if we ever 100% know who we are. I think we discover more and more about ourselves each day. But being intentional is making sure that you are sticking to that, to living your life in the way and the person that you believe you are or aspire to be. Would that be fair to say?
I like the word belief who you are, rather than aspiring, because for me, the belief behind who are you with intention is purposeful. It has intentionality. Whereas aspiring to me feels more light and airy, feels unwavering. Whereas you talked about authenticity and being purposeful and being being clear on who you are.
And I guess aspiring would also run counter to the idea of say who you are, and, assume who you are and become that by saying, I am this or I am that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're declaring it.
I think I'm starting
You're
to
declaring
learn.
who you are.
I'm starting to understand. Wait, this is scary.
I love this.
All right. So I'm thinking here, and see if I'm correct with this, that you can also use intentionality to really get rid of all the busyness in our life necessarily that is keeping us from being who we are and what we want to accomplish. I mean, too often times we're running around, and particularly businessmen, or business people, they're always saying you need to narrow down your focus. You need to stick to what really works for you and your business, and not try to do too many things at once. And being intentional about what we're doing seems to me that would be a great way to say, okay, I got this business activity. Is this really where I want to be and who I want to be? Or is it just filling my time? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I'm reminded of a story Steve Chandler tells. Steve Chandler is one of the people who I look up to in the coaching world. that he wrote a beautiful book called The Prosperous Coach, along with another coach, Rich Levin, and Steve has written lots of other books. Anyway, one of his books is called Time Warrior. It's about time management, not really about time management, but like energy management, focus, like procrastination, like those kinds of things. And he tells a story where I think is really interesting in the book, where he makes an analogy in the book. He says, if he lives in Arizona, he says, if I have a business meeting in New York and I have to get to the airport at a certain time to get to my business meeting that's important to me in New York, I may be getting ready, and then someone may say, hey, there's someone on the phone who wants to talk to you. And he says, I'm sorry, I have to get to New York. Tell him I'll call him later. And then then there may be a knock at his door, and someone say, hey, Steve, can I ask you a few questions about something? He'll say, listen, I'm sorry. I would love to be able to talk to you, but I got to get to New York. And then on his way to the airport, the car may break down, and he'll say, okay, I gotta get in a cab, and he'll call a cab, and he'll continue on his way to the airport so he can get to New York. And he kind of keeps down this way. And he's like, basically what he's saying is that he's very clear on where he's going and how important it is where he's going. So the distractions are things that might get in his way. They fall to the side because he's very clear with where he's going. He has to get to New York. And that we all have the opportunity to get clear with what our New York is, right? So he's very clear on where he's going and why it's important to him. So then all the distractions and things that could get in the way don't seem to get in the way. So that's what comes up for me. So yes, so the answer to your question, Chris, is yes.
That sounds like a perfect summary of intentionality. I mean, from what we discussed, it's knowing who you are, what you want to do, what you want to be, and being conscious of that at all times and saying, and what I am about to do is the way I'm reacting, the way I'm interacting here. Is that in alignment with who I am and what I want to be doing or what I am doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds good, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So we would love to hear from you. Let us know what your thoughts are around intentionality. And if you've got some practical tips on things that you do to be intentional and how you use that in your life and your business, we would love to hear from you. Just look at the show notes and you'll see ways you can reach out to us and let us know. Jody, Bryan, great discussion as always. We were very intentional about it and we got it done. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Of course.